Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. In this video I'll be showing you guys how to make the Mugiwara cosplay deer paw. Now I just want you to know that I am not copying anything of hers. You can subscribe to her and me, you can like mine and her videos, and you can watch hers and my videos. I'm not taking anything away. I just explain how to make things differently because I learn differently, so hopefully I can help the other people that also learn differently. If you're still a little bit worried or upset, because I've had a few people message me that they were upset about my videos because of this reason, just know that she is one of my subscribers, which I'm so grateful for, so thank you so much. So please know I do always link things down in the description, so you can always go to all of her stuff and anybody else's. And now that's said and done, let's get on to the video. So like I said, I'm using the Mugiwara cosplay pattern, and as you can see it's 3 fingers and a thumb. Now this thumb bit isn't accessible for your thumb, so you put it in your hand in like this. I don't know how many people can do this, but it takes me a while. I literally have to stare at my hand to try and make it move correctly. When it comes to the pattern itself, I have already laminated it and cut it out. If you can see here, it's still missing, kind of like it's chopped off, but I'm going to add a bit of a join it up when I place it onto the fabric. This just happens sometimes, it's where it doesn't fully fit, but laminating your patterns will mean that you don't have to use as much paper, it will last a lot longer, and it's reusable, so recommend doing that. Another thing I'd like to point out is on the pattern it has how many times you need to cut it out. This is on here is for one hand, so if you want to do both, which I'm a little bit confused, I don't know why she didn't just put like 8 and then 4 on these, but yeah, make sure you do double of what it says if you want 2 hand paws. So the first things you are going to need is a brush for once you've cut it out, some scissors. So these are fabric scissors. Don't use fabric scissors on paper or the other way around because it blunts them. But I've also got small ones because when cutting out fur you do need to take really small snips close to the backing of the fabric. You are also going to need a marker to mark around your pattern onto the fabric. This is a water marker, so once it gets wet it disappears. If you are using a dark fabric, you will need some white chalk. You can get white pencils, but I've never had any luck with that. With the chalk, please bear in mind that you do need to take the wax part off it first, so I would rub it a couple of times on some fabric, and then after a couple of times it should start to come through, but this is basically the only thing that shows up on black fabric. You are also going to need some pattern weights or washers. These are washers, they're a hell of a lot cheaper. I have 2 different sizes. These are weighted so they keep the pattern in place, but they're not as pretty as pattern weights themselves, which is why they are cheaper, so they're great for a budget option. So for the first bit, that is everything you will need, and of course your pattern. So please remember to take note of the fur direction. So I always have the fur direction the same way every time, so I remember. The fur always faces me. So on the hands you want the fur going down towards the fingers, so it would be going down, and you want to draw around this and then flip it, draw around it, and then cut them out, and do this 4 times.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now,
Okay, so the base is cut out. Now we're going to move on to the fingers themselves. Now for a really authentic look, I think the word would be, I would recommend using fake leather or vinyl, or there is the option of 3D printed hooves. Now these cost a lot more just because they're 3D printed, but they do give the extra awesomeness because you can literally clip your fingers together. I will do a separate video on how to have these instead, so keep an eye out for that. You can also use fleece. What I'm going to be using is minky. This is because my customer would like them to be soft as well, but minky is a really short pile. If you can tell, I'm not sure if you guys can. So yeah, we'll be using minky. It's also a very cheap option as well. You will need the same items, just with minky instead of fake fur. Remember to check the direction on minky as well. I normally brush it different ways to find out which way it is. So this minky is going down. Remember with the patterns to flip half of them and double it. So I'm going to be doing 8 of these, 4 of them flipped, 4 of these 2 flipped, and 4 of these 2 flipped. I'm also going to be using white chalk because it's a darker backing. And for the fingers, the fur direction, if you're using minky, is going down towards the tip.
My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Thoughts get thrown around, but we keep going on believing, and on till we're all cried out, 'cause we don't feel like throwing it all away. We don't feel like it. This time it's not about escaping. We don't feel like it. We don't feel like it. Cause we don't feel like throwing it all away.
So when it comes to lining, you will either need to double it or fold your fabric in half and do it twice. So the different types of fabrics, I use 2 main ones. So the first one is this lycra fabric. You can get it in really pretty colours. You can't really get it patterned, I find, unless you want flowers or floral, but I've never really been keen on that. So I just get it in like plain pretty colours. The reason why I really like using this fabric, I specifically use it for the puffy hand paws because they're extra puffy and they're very stuffed. They kind of keep in a lot of heat, like a lot of heat. So this kind of fabric is really sheer, and it's like a cool touch to it. It kind of reduces the heat in the hands and reduces how sweaty they will get, so I do prefer to use this fabric. However, if I wanted a patterned fabric such as this reindeer fabric, which is just adorable, I always get 100% cotton. I don't like to get polyester just in case my clients are allergic, but you are kind of required if you're hiring someone to make a costume for you. I would highly recommend telling them what fabrics irritate your skin or give you a reaction so they know, but I would normally only use 100% cotton just to kind of reduce that. It is more expensive, but as you can see, you can have really pretty designs, and I have so many. My favourite at the moment is this dragon one, but I have not used it because I don't want to ruin it. So when you're folding it, you want to make sure it's right sides together. Right sides together are the pieces you want to see on the outside. So this is right sides together because the pieces that I want to see on the outside are facing each other. The only reason why I'm not folding this into fours is because I had already cut out a piece. It's not a fur, so you don't have to look at fur direction. However, because this is patterned, I want to see which direction I'm having the deer face on the hand, so I would like them going up the hand. Okay, so when it comes to the lycra fabric, because of how silky it is and how stretchy it is, it moves around a lot, so I highly recommend using some clips. Okay, so with the lycra, I've folded it in four. Okay, so now that we have the lining together, we're just going to sew around the edge, not the bottom edge, because you want to keep that bit open, and you want to make sure it's still right sides together. Okay, so everything's being cut out and part of it's being sewn together. Now we're going to go on to the actual hoof parts. So I've clipped them together. This bit I found a little bit confusing. I don't know if I've picked the right pieces, but I'll explain. So this half piece, you only need to sew around the curved edge because there's a bit that goes here when it's open like that. That makes sense. This is the bit that I've chosen. This is the largest curved piece, but it then gets sewn onto the sides. So it's kind of 3D, if that makes sense. But I wasn't sure whether it was the larger piece or the slightly smaller piece. But I got the pattern. I curved the flat edge piece around the large piece and around the smallest bit, but it seems to fit best with the larger bit. So I think the large pieces go as the second addition to these pieces. I've clipped the smaller pieces, we'll be sewing down and down. With the tiny pieces, we'll be doing the same, sewing both sides.
But every time we say goodbye, we all know that it's a lie. Now I'm all alone, 'cause you never show. You say you will, but then you don't. Let's let go, don't wanna know. Turning off my mind so I get
Okay, so I've just given the edges a trim, just because it makes it less bulky, and I did this on all of them. So with the half pieces, we're now going to attach the bigger pieces. So I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm going to clip the bottom and then clip it to the point, and then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I got confused on another bit. What we're next going to do is the really small little hoofy bits. Turn them the right way around. And we're going to stuff these. Okay, so now we're basically getting the base pieces and we're putting them together. We're putting them together, we're going to be putting into the little hoof pieces. So this is where I got a little bit confused as to where to put the little hoof pieces. So what I did was I referred back to the pattern and I kind of placed the lining on top of the base, and kind of tried to figure out where the fingers are and which side is the thumb. So I learned that this side of the curve is going to have one big hoof, then a gap, one big hoof, gap, one big hoof, and then down here somewhere is where the small hoof is going to be, the one that you can't get your fingers in, it's just for show. Now you can skip this part entirely and sew the two pieces together going up to about here, and then the same on this side to about here. I think I'm going to put the hoof in where it starts here at this little notch bit and see how it looks. It might not look great, but it's worth a try, and I think this is how you're supposed to do it. Get your two base pieces together with right sides together, and we're just going to pin around the edge all the way up, making sure to tuck the fur in. So I changed my idea slightly. Instead of doing it from the deep curve, I'm actually going to put it just before, so it kind of finishes right at that point. Get your small hoof piece, keeping it the right way. You're going to clip it in this, so it kind of curves into the fingers, not away from the fingers. Then once everything's been sewed together and it gets turned the right way round again, it's going to be on the outside like this. Okay, so they have been sewn with the little pinky or thumb bits in. Because we've machine sewn here, it's going to be, when you're tucking the fur in, you're going to have this bit hanging out. So basically I snip the fur up to the point where the thread is, if that makes sense. Okay, so before we put the finger pieces in, there's one bit on these that we need to sew shut. The pattern here, you see this straight edge, it's barely visible on the actual fabric, so I would use your pattern as a guide to find out where it is. Here. Now it's really difficult to see, so use your pattern as a guide, but we want to sew both pieces together from this point to this point. Make sure you use a strong thread that is the same colour, because you don't want it showing on the other side. So to create a blanket stitch, you basically put the needle in, wrap the thread around the needle once, and then pull the needle through. And you just do this over and over again. And occasionally I wrap it around the needle twice, because then it basically double knots it. Okay, so this little bit has been sewn on. Now we're going to place the fingers inside. So turn it right way round, and then we're going to stuff it into this gap. So when putting in the fingers, you want to make sure that they are put in right sides together. Sure that the three pieces that were put together have the big flat end against the underneath side. Take a look at what it looks like when you put it together to see if it's how it's supposed to be on the outside, because as you can see here, I've put it in wrong. So I've had to take them out and do them again. So you want to make sure the fluffy part is on the inside and the smooth part is on the outside, because then when you push it through, the fluffy part will be on the outside with the rest of the fluffy part. I hope that makes sense, but fingers crossed. But just place it in and try and get it even, line it up so the flat end is against this side. There's a seam going down the middle here, and then there's two seams either side. So I'll put the two seams either side even from each other, if that makes sense. And then you're just going to sew it all together. So the fingers are in, and I admit it took me quite a while, because basically I turned it the right way round again just to see what it looked like, and I kept getting it wrong. So when you're doing this, make sure you do the same thing, keep turning it around, maybe turn it around after every single finger, and check which hand you want it on. The side of the flat bit needs to be at the bottom of your hand. So it's like this. This is what it looks like on the inside. Now we're just going to pull the fingers up. So this is what it should look like. So with the lining, you want to keep it inside out, because we're going to end up turning it the right way around anyway. So I'm just kind of moving it around. It may not completely reach the top. This is slightly stretchy, so it kind of does, but it doesn't have to. You can, even if it comes to just about here, that's perfectly fine. So now we're going to sew up the sides, and then up the sides of the fingers as well. You can stop at about this much on each finger, or you can sew all the way around, or it may not reach all the way up, so you'll have to sew only part of it. But if it doesn't quite reach, don't sew the top. don't sew it to here, because otherwise you'll be sewing the finger bit together as well. So only sew along the seam part. So lining has been sewed on and it looks like an alien hand. Do you guys see that? So now we're gonna turn it the right way around. Okay, so these are our paws. So currently this is what the lining looks like. So before we seal it shut, well, seal it open I guess, like this, we need to stuff the finger pieces. So you want to stuff the top bit, not the bottom. I guess you could do it either way, however I find doing the top bit allows for more feeling in the hand.
I saw no shadow, but felt the glow. The warmth inside me kept me afloat. It felt like heaven. It found my bones and gave me comfort.
But make sure to try it on before you decide that's how much stuffing you want, so you know what it feels like with the fingers in it, because the fingers themselves is basically going to stuff it as well. And now we can sew the paws shut. So basically just going to clip the lining around the edge and then hand sew it together. Okay, so for the bias binding you want to cut a 12-inch strip of either felt fabric, black cotton or whatever colour you like. So I normally do about 12 inches, sometimes a little bit more. It fits around, sometimes you'll have more. But what you could always do is measure around the cuff. It normally do it about 2 inches, yeah, 2 inches thick. Now I'm just pinning it around. I can do a separate video on this if you'd like, but for the basics of it, you want to first pin it around this way, and then once you've sewn across, you then fold it up, and then you fold it down. But before you fold it down, sometimes if you fold it again and then fold it down, you can hide the edge. But if it's not quite thick enough, you might just have to have the edge showing. So let's do this. Okay, so as you can see I have quite a bit spare. I want it to overlap slightly, just so it can be nice and hidden and there's guaranteed to have no fur showing. But I would say about a width and a half of your finger, and then just trim the rest off. And we did it! After trimming the little threads, just give it a little brush. You may get some little trapped hairs in, so just kind of brush them out. And the bias binding is on. It looks really neat, very professional, and just all around nice. And it also make it a lot more comfier because, well, it's not gonna spray and stuff. It just makes it comfier. But effective, and I love it. So that's it for this week's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment if you have any questions, and everything helps. If you want any information, my social media is down below and you can ask me anything. And if you would like to support the things that I do have a Patreon down below as well. So definitely go check that out with all the cool little perks you get with it. if you want to get early release videos, then definitely go follow me on Patreon. Bye guys!